Hi everyone! Surprise! And welcome to a new episode of Surprise Guest with Pia Arcangel, where every episode is an unexpected conversation. And today we're gonna have something just like that dahil hindi po natin alam kung sino ang makakasama natin sa araw na ito. Ito na ang clues. Clue number 1. One of the most credible and highly respected journalists of our time. I think I know who our guest will be. Okay, is there a second clue? Palaban at hindi uurungan ang mga usaping bayan. Matinik sa investigative reporting. Mapangahas magtanong. Pero may paggala. Ayan na nga. Is our surprise guest for today Miss Malu Mangahas? Yes! Miss Malu, how are you?
Pwede mo magpahula ng kapalaran sa New Year.
Miss Malu, how are you? Of course, you were in my very original list of guesses with the first clue pa lang. Pero syempre, baka male, female, di natin alam. But with that last clue na mapangahas magtanong, alam na natin na ikaw yon.
Oo nga eh. I'm doing fine. Actually, we're doing our The Mangahas Interviews program. Magtatatlong taon na kami. First week of December, we're entering our 4th year at marami pa rin makukulit na dapat ma-interview.
Wow, imagine that. It's been 4 years already.
3.
Going 4, yes. So 4th year this anniversary. Wow. Miss Malu, alam naman natin, like we said in the opening or in one of our clues na talagang mapangahas magtanong. I was wondering, because I've caught some of your episodes and I'm thinking, hindi po ba kayo kinakabahan ever to ask those tough questions? Kaba in the sense na, not balikan in the violent sense, pero, baka somehow someday they will come back, these questions might come back to haunt you in some form or another.
Actually, I am very blessed na meron akong mahusay na team. I think ang critical sa lahat naman ng interview, as you would know, is matibay yung research at makinig. Ang critical din, of course, is parang tipong mag-aral kung ano yung medyo sensitive at difficult questions at pag itatanong yun, magpasintabi na kailangan pong tanungin, pasensya na po, kailangan humatanong, or minsan yung pag-prep din ng interviewees na ayaw mo naman silang bigyan ng partida na parang kid gloves treatment, pero kailangan nilang tapatin yung mga tanong. And so we advise them na nagre-research po kami, medyo matindi ho yung ilang tanong, pero magalang po ang pagpasok ng mga tanong.
Pero Miss Malu, so this is your 3rd year and this is your first online format. Is that correct? First online video format?
Actually, meron kaming prior to The Mangahas Interviews yung Better Normal PH na ginawa namin. Parang panahon ng COVID, we wanted to look at yung situations ng mga tao, para mga short investigative features para makita din natin kung ano yung kalagayan ng mga mamamayan natin at yung mga issue ng panahon ng COVID. Ito yung pangalawang program, pero this time around, parang public affairs talk ang gusto nilang gawin ng The Mangahas Interviews.
Was it a difficult transition for you? Kasi syempre, the setup is, ikaw magsa-setup, although it's a simple setup, pero di ba nakakakaba na, are you recording? Are your lights okay? Is your background okay?
Medyo nung una, nanganganay din kami, but of course, my producers helped me go through it na medyo seamless yung arrangement. So, kailangan medyo tama yung lighting, so all the lights in the house dapat open. Or kailangan tahimik yung lugar, walang ingay, walang doorbell na naka-on. Or kailangan din, syempre, pinakamahalaga, pasok yung research early on para may pagkakataon kami i-update to keep it as current as possible.
And like you said, research is very important, especially for your show's format. Like, how many days in advance do you have to have done your research?
Depende sa topic kasi minsan merong mga quickie kaming interviews because we wanted to put in context sa breaking news. Yun, medyo madalian yun. Kaya lang, all of us are really quite adept sa pag-monitor ng current events o ng mga balita araw-araw. May mga issue naman na medyo mahirap kasi kailangan may historical overview ka, katulad nitong Israel-Hamas war. Marami-raming tataluntunin mong dekada. Or even yung confidential funds and intelligence expenses, hindi lang naman kasi ngayon lang naganap, maraming mga backstory, di ba? Nung nagkaroon ng pork barrel ruling ang Supreme Court, yung Disbursement Acceleration Program. At minsan naman, medyo kakaiba yung taong haharap dahil hindi kami ganun ka-familiar. So pati yung background check doon sa personalidad, kailangan din namin gawin bilang paggalang sa kung ano man yung achievements niya. So madidiscover mo minsan na parang, halimbawa si Senate President Zubiri, meron palang sportsmanship na nakalipas. So yung mga ganong kakaiba. And then minsan yung mahalaga din is, syempre maghabol ka ng source na tugma doon sa topic. Ang problema natin pagka public officials na medyo mataas ang pwesto, mailap. O kaya parang tipong, sige, sa susunod na lang, sa susunod na lang. Ang difficulty din naman ng iba is natatakot na humarap. Kasi baka daw kung anong tanong, sabi nung isang government lawyer, para daw nag-revalida siya. O para daw nag-court appearance siya. Parang ganun. Sabi ko, hindi naman, sanay naman kayo dapat sa ganyan. Ang pinakamahirap yung mga elective officials, mga politiko. Kasi parang conscious sila sa kanilang imahe at ayaw nila na magkamali. Ayaw din nila minsan tumutok sa mga kontrobersya na mga
So, hindi pala
usapin.
pwede sa inyo, Miss Malu, ang surprise.
Hindi, tinatapat namin yung mga guests na, halimbawa, lalo na nung panahon ng eleksyon. So, we had all the candidates for president and vice president na naka-line up. Although hindi naman lahat humarap, katulad ni President BBM, mailap talaga, si Vice President Sara, mailap talaga. Pero syempre, may mga mas madali, may mga mas mahirap na paghahanda. Katulad ng, kunyari, si Senator Manny Pacquiao. First time niya na may full-length interview, and I was very careful na parang aralin talaga kung ano yung mga nagawa na niya at hindi siya sumahin bilang sportsman lang o bilang atleta lang. Kasi may mga ginawa siya na maayos naman. Mahalaga ding bagay yung parang tipong pagtapat doon sa pace o kaya bilis o bagal ng pagsasalita o pagmuni-muni ng ating mga guests.
Pero meron naman kayo, Miss Malu, na guest na umuulit naman.
Oo, kasi may mga issue tayong paripit. Parang yun natin kwento ng Pilipinas, no? Parang tutuloy ang susunod na kabanata. Hindi nagtatapos minsan. At yun yung regretful, yun yung parang malungkot. Sa maraming mga usaping bayan na malalaki, we never seem to have our conclusion, ano? Parang walang pagsasara kung sino may sala, kung sino dapat usigin, kung sinong dapat makulong, o kung may mga kaso man, parang walang nagtatapos na paglilitis. I think ang critical dito is yung pagpapahayag na you would play fair. Tapos yung paggalang na we've researched the story or the issues well enough. So talaga pong gusto naming tapatan kung ano yung gusto ninyong ipahayag na informed din kami. O maayos din yung aming pag-alala at pag-intindi sa mga usapin. Meron ding pasubali na parang, of course, may mga ilang interviewees na government officials na talagang no entry yung territory ng mga sensitive at confidential na mga bagay-bagay. Diba, kung Philippine National Police or Armed Forces of the Philippines or even some of the cabinet members na hindi pwede dahil wala pang desisyon. And we'd like to respect that. But of course, we try as much as possible to get into the story. Katulad nung yung Maharlika, magkakaiba yung opinion ng ilan na cabinet members. They'd rather not get into collision course with the proponents, but we know na meron silang alinlangan sa issue. So we tried to get it in a way na pasok yung context, pasok din yung unique input nila.
But Ms. Malu, of course, we see na parang yung years ninyo of experience as a journalist and as an investigative journalist, nakikita namin dito sa show na ito. Pero, is it okay kung ikwento nyo po sa amin kung paano ba talaga kayo nag-umpisa bilang isang investigative journalist? Or, you know, as a journalist, I mean, investigative na ba talaga ang una ninyong pagsabak?
Nagsimula ako, actually, campus writer ako. I was collegiate editor sa University of the Philippines and later on student council chairperson. And from then on, I thought that journalism would be the path I'd like to pursue. Although sana ay maglo-law school ako. Kaya lang, things got in the way. Student leader ako, nahuli ako at nadala sa pikutan for alleged subversion. Na wala naman yung kasong yon years later. But of course, after makulong ka na, yun yung interrupted somehow yung mga plano mo na magpatuloy ng law school. And then I got into newspaper work, one after the other. And that was it. In 1989, we thought, kami ng mga kasama ko sa PCIJ, co-founders, si Sheila Coronel, si Marites Vitug, si Lorna Calao-Tirol, si Vet Vitug, si Howie Severino, parang tipong nag-EDSA na, pero mukhang balik ugali tayo, yung mga yan lang yung media, away-away yung mga politiko. So we thought that maybe we could contribute a little by trying to nurture a culture for investigative reporting. Ito na may parang simpleng pangarap lang noon na baka naman yung ibang reporter matulungan with some funding to take a leave of absence from their primary duties sa newspapers, TV at radio to do work with us. And that's got us started into doing investigative reporting as a focus. We do training as well. We do website data development para sa PCIJ and that's it. So pati pagdating ng GMA7, we launched a program before COVID, no, yung investigative documentaries. So that was the idea of our producers there. Sila JJ Jimeno, sila Nessa Valdelio, na maybe we could do something different on TV na investigative ang PEG. Hindi naman kasi dapat special siopaw o special menu yung investigative journalist. Ang tingin namin sa Philippine Center for Investigative Journalism na isa ako sa co-founder, all reporting should be investigative. Depende yan sa tutok, sa sipag, at saka sa talagang earnest effort ng lahat ng ating mga reporter. Hindi special group ang investigative journalists. It's important to look at ourselves, all the work that we do, na sana may investigative work. Hindi lang simpleng yung parang he said, she said, pero konting effort pa, dagdag research pa. Mahalagang bagay yun kasi yung pagtitiwala ng publiko, babalik yun because they would appreciate really good work. And I guess yung parang kabilang panig naman nun is don't ever think na yung investigative journalism is gotcha journalism. Yung parang tipong just catching crooks or parang huli o bisto. Yun yung kabilang panig na iniiwasan namin. Kasi when you do an investigative report in truth, day after the story runs, parang tipong magkakaroon ka ng self-doubt o malulungkot ka na, naku, baka may mali. Naku, baka may mga anak yung taong nandun sa balita na baka masaktan or baka malagay sa peligro or makantsawan ng mga kaklase sa eskwela. So, hindi siya ganoon ka gandang feeling if you catch crooks through investigative reporting. Merong pangambang magkikick in. Merong pag-alala na baka may masaktang mga bata.
Parang the way you say it so casually, di ba? Pero syempre, in this day and age, pag nangyari yon sa isang campus journalist, that would be such a big deal. I'm sure even then naman. But pwede niyo ba ikwento sa amin a little more about that experience? Gano'n kayo katagal na detain?
Halos 4 na buwan sa Bikutan and then sa Krame. I was the last student out of Krame. Pero I say it hindi sa paraang light kasi compared with what I went through, napakagaan nung karanasan na yon dahil yung ibang mga estudyante na nahuli noon, talagang hindi natutukan yung mga kaso, mas nagtagal. Or even then, may mga sabikutan, may tinatawag kaming datnan panawan. Ito yung mga dadatnan na ng mga bagong detainees, papanawan na ng mga bagong detainees, nandun pa rin dahil mga 10 taon, 12 taon na nandoon. So, you feel like parang, it's a little light being a detainee kung ganun lang kaikli yung panahon. And of course, I had the support of my parents and the student council. At that time, parang President Marcos and then Defense Minister Juan Ponce Enrile were issuing, tawag nila ASO, Arrest, Search, and Seizure Order left and right. So about 120 students at that time, nung ako'y nahuli na, were in jail at Bikutan mostly and in Camp Krame. Yung iba, nahuli lang dahil kasama sa mga rally, mga kilos protesta, tawag doon ng mga aktivista. Yung iba, dahil talaga may arrest, search, and seizure order, katulad ko dahil ako'y student council president and before that, collegian editor. So mga 1 taon na naghahabulan kami, that arrest order was about a year old already. And at that time, I was possibly arrested kasi I was supposed to speak at the rally for the Pope, youth rally ng Pope with my colleague from University of Santo Tomas. So I think yun yung ayaw lang ni President Ferdinand Marcos na mangyari. So at that time, dahil the Pope was coming, merong kung matatandaan ninyo, bata ka pa yata noon, merong nominal lifting of martial law. This was 1981. So I was arrested November 1980. Noong 1981 na yon, ang pangako ng Pangulo is, ililift na yung martial law, and he did about February, parang ganon. So, hindi naman lahat pinalaya. Ang nangyari, ako and a female worker were transferred to Camp Crame, and the male detainees were brought to Muntinlupa. So, parang kunya-kunyari lang naman. But of course, Bicutan was a showcase prison. So even in Bicutan, you will learn a lot. I would have learned, and I did learn a lot of lessons on actually how comparatively the misery that we confront is much less than the misery of other people. Yung mga tatay-nanay na nawalay sa mga anak, and at that time, I was myself, of course, my parents were very worried, my sisters and brother, pero that was parang a walk in the park, but the learning that I had was much greater kasi parang tipong meron kang patience, meron kang humility, meron kang empathy sa mga tao, at sa loob ng Bicutan, nagi akong cook, nagi akong tinder, but that was very good experience kasi nakakatuwa yung kwento ng buhay ng mga detainees.
Habang nandun kayo, Miss Malu, ano yung pinagkakabalahan nyo pampalipas ng oras aside from yung mga pag-assign sa'yo na maging cook, ganyan?
Actually, lahat ng mga detainees merong parang niro-rotate yung mga duties. So, at that time, ang aming trabaho, mga estudyante, tumulong dun sa, I don't know if you are familiar with it, yung mga pendant ng mga detainees, yung buto ng baka na ginigiling para tipong macrame, tawag doon, gagawa ng pendant. First off, we were assigned to do the necklace, yung macrame. Hindi pantay, parang 5 piso bawat necklace yata ang dapat bayad. So nilipat kami, magko-cutics, magna-natural lacquer na lang ng mga pendant. And then, yun, parang pareho din. But we never did well. I think iba talaga yung may talent, para sa mga ganung bagay, the finer things in life. So, and then, merong duty, bawat building. 3 kasi yung building ng mga kalalakihan, mas marami sila. Isang building lang yung sa mga babae. So, magro-rotate yung pagluluto for everyone. At the time, I think mga 60 to 80 yung nandun sa Bicutan. It's a showcase prison. So, may allowance kami na pinupool for meals. And then, para ma-stretch baga yung budget na yon, mamimili yung mga nanay ng ilang detainees, at ang madalas noon, parang stretch ka, sardinas, lahat ng klase ng luto na sardinas. May pechay, tortang sardinas, sardinas na may miswa, or yung mga manok ba?
Miswang sardinas.
Yung mga pakpak ng manok, tawag syempre ng mga detainees para may political context, bagwis. Yun yung niluluto. Lahat ng klase ng pagluto.
Nagkaroon ba kayo ng pagkakataon na magsulat habang nandun kayo?
Yeah. Parang I was writing letters at that time to my boyfriend. He's now my husband, si Roel. He's a journalist also. Pero I was writing letters to the council officers kasi yung ilan din ay merong arrest order. I was writing letters to my parents, of course. And at that time, parang partly, ang difficulty mo is actually to keep in touch with the world outside. Kasi iba din naman syempre yung alerto ka kung ano nagaganap. And of course, may mga pangyayari na magiging mahalaga din. Katulad ng bago ako dumating, nag-hunger fast, nag-hunger strike yung mga detainees. Nung lumipat naman kami sa Crame, nag-hunger strike din yung mga detainees. Parang tipo, ano ba to? Puro hunger strike na lang. Anyway, ang difficulty doon sa Bicutan, largely yung tawag nila yung buryong, boredom. So you'd have to find ways to really deal with it, overcome it. So your fellow detainees are a good source of somehow hope.
Pero Miss Malu, an experience like this would, probably discourage some people from pursuing a career pa rin in journalism kasi nga after an experience like that, sino ba naman ang may gusto makulong? Pero how did you make it work for you to strengthen your resolve to really pursue a career in journalism?
Interesting topics and insightful conversations with one of the country's veteran and most award-winning journalists, Howie Severino. The Howie Severino podcast was hailed as one of Spotify's best new podcasts and has consistently been one of the top Philippine podcasts since its launch. The Howie Severino podcast. New episodes streams every Thursday on major streaming platforms.
Miss Malu, an experience like this would, probably discourage some people from pursuing a career pa rin in journalism kasi nga after an experience like that, sino ba naman ang may gusto makulong? Pero how did you make it work for you to strengthen your resolve to really pursue a career in journalism?
Sa totoo lang, I was in journalism, pa third year ako, tsaka lang ako naging active sa campus protest movement. Kasi we took the collegiate exams, qualifying exams yun eh. And by some coincidence, I topped the exam and became editor of the Collegian. But before that, actually in high school, I was a catechist and I wanted to be a nun. So parang tipong yung concept ng social justice ng mga aktivista, actually pareho sa social justice concept sa Biblia kasi medyo Catholic school kami nanggaling at pareho din. Ang difference lang is siguro yung connections sa community nung kanilang mga sinasabi, mga manggagawa, mga informal settlers, mga kababaihan at ibang kabataan outside campus. And I think yun yung mahalaga sa pag-appreciate kasi sa journalism teaching. I started also to teach quite early. Every now and then I would lecture in journalism pero recently hindi. Kasi mahirap ituro ang writing class eh. Parang ang daming i-check at i-correct at hindi lang simpleng grade, marking, but also telling the students how to improve, how to work it up. Ang difficulty ng UP, I think is kahit na yung JORN or yung College of Mass Communication hindi ganun ka well provided, equipment-wise or resources-wise, hitik sa aral yung laman na pwede mong ilagay sa iyong pagsusulat sa UP. Sa ibang universidad, medyo ayos yung technology, medyo ayos yung provisions, yung equipment. Pero mas sanay ang UP, I think, doon sa tutok ng ano yung mga isyung bayan. Of course, Ateneo, LaSalle, and UST, and PUP, sumasabay ngayon na makilahok yung mga estudyante sa pagsilip ng mga isyung bayan. Hindi naman palagay ko special preparation yung sa journalism. If you'd ask me, I think anybody from any of the course programs, anthropology, economics, sociology, history, they would make good journalists. So, ang difference lang is never parang a learning process you could say na stop-go. Kailangan tuloy-tuloy kasi bawat isulat natin, I personally believe we start from ground zero. Ulit-ulit, aral tayo ulit. Dagdag value pa dun sa nalalaman na natin.
Fast forward to today and the landscape of journalism now, is it difficult for you to parang try and make sure that you retain the interest of the audience? Kasi syempre, di ba, like, especially yung younger audience, mas sanay sila sa short form. Hindi na sila masyadong manunood or makikinig pag nahahabaan sila. So how do you ensure that all the investigative work you do is something that they will digest and absorb still?
Ang PCIJ at saka sa trabaho ko ngayon, I am a co-convener of the Right to Know Right Now Coalition. We're trying to make our CSOs also be in step with technology, with the content that they could produce na audio, video, hindi lang simpleng text. I think dati pa nasilip na namin ng PCIJ na kailangan content appropriate to platform. So yung long form, yung investigative reports, yun yung parang tipong basic infra. But we've tried to actually repurpose the long-form content through audio, video materials like infographics, PubMats, or even yung mga short video clips. Kasi kailangan din ilatag sa iba't ibang platform kung ano yung content mo. But of course, magiging mahalaga pa rin for a long period of time yung long form. Kasi they will never go away kasi merong audience din, not really young and old lang, but also everybody in search of siguro yung the full story, the full narrative of what's happening. And that is why books are still okay. Diba? The storied publications and media agencies of the world are still with us, whether it's New York Times or The Economist or The Guardian. Of course, kailangan pa rin na sila din mag-adapt sa technology. Kaya meron silang mga archive, meron silang mga online, meron silang in case you missed it, na mga notices. So, kailangan, I think, hindi lang simpleng kaligtaan na content and form are inseparable. Pero if you ask me, syempre primary pa rin ang content. And of course, sana wag lang kaligtaan yung form at platform na kailangan. Kasi in the end, it really is about the audience. they matter the most.
When we listen to you, Miss Malu, talk about your career, parang I can hear and feel the passion you have for journalism. Pero sabi niyo nga po, it wasn't the first thing you had in mind. Gusto niyo maging madre?
Noong una pa na.
Noong una pa. Parang tagal-tagal na naman. Are there moments when you think about what other type of career you could have gotten into, or parang it doesn't even cross your mind kasi parang your purpose is completely fulfilled here in your work in journalism?
Hindi pa rin kasi I think yung journalism offers us a lifelong learning process. Parang tipong hindi pwedeng hindi ka mag-aral. And journalism tells you that you study any and all sorts of things important and relevant and necessary to the public that we serve. And I guess hindi siya simpleng parang isang track lang ng career o ng pag-aaral, kundi multiple things. I still enjoy being a journalist for that reason. I also think it would be important to remain a journalist kasi parang tipong ang dami nang nagkalabo-labong mga bagay-bagay, usap-usapan, parang gano'n, mga toxic discourses sa buhay natin. And if where I could help, I guess parang to clarify na parang there's no substitute to good reporting. There's no substitute to parang really doing good content. Kahit na nasa gitna tayo ng kung ano-anong kaguluhan, mga troll farms o mga echo chambers, etc. Kasi in the end, I think the public wants to listen to honest brokers of discourses. Baka ang problema lang is pagkatipong kumiling o nasilip na may panig na hindi ayos, mahihirapan tayong ibalik ba yung public trust na yon. And I guess yung kung sakali man, parang being a journalist doesn't stop you from doing other things that you like, di ba? Parang tipong I do cooking. For a while when my daughter was still young, I was sewing yung kung ano klase, damit niya, punda, kurtina,
wow,
etc.
Wow, yung damit niya?
Mga maliliit, madali lang yung gawin. So parang tipong, there are things that you could do to improve yourself. So when my mother was in a senior's home, she passed away last year, at age 90. So I thought parang yung lolos at lolas, they like little trinkets, yung mga beadwork ba, na simple lang. So parang there's always time, I think, to have occasion, to do hobbies, or to learn other things aside from journalism. This is when the deadlines really beat down on you. Yung parang tipong, wow, hirap naman itong storyang to.
Miss Malu, kayo ba yung first journalist sa pamilya ninyo?
Well, my other relative, si Federico Manghas, distant, parang kasi we all came from Hagonoy, Bulacan. Then the family branched out to Nueva Ecija and Palawan. So there were writers in the family. Pero I think it was Federico Manghas, so parang great-grand-uncle, parang gano'n ang labas niya. Siya yung talaga nasa journalism. But in my case, parang ako lang siguro yung talaga nag-focus full-time ng journalism.
Nagulat po ba yung mga magulang ninyo nung sinabi niyo na? Or for example, nung sumali kayo sa school paper, nagulat ba sila?
Hindi naman. Kasi at that time, parang it was so natural that you would get involved sa... I come from sa high school, Espiritu Santo Parochial School. So parang it was so important to... And also, I guess your teachers would prod you to either be part of the campus newspaper or to join yung, dati di ba mayroong news candidate officers training course, yung ROT sa CAT. Tapos, yung mga ganon, parang you'd get busy. And at the time, kasi even in high school, I was an honor student and parang tipong kasama yun sa ini-encourage, although I never had a taste for parang yung maging teacher's pet baga. Hindi. But it just so happens that my grades were good. And I think my friends were also an influence. Na their grades were very good also.
Miss Malu, how would you describe yourself as a parent? Are you a very strict parent or easygoing and relaxed?
Hindi, I think mas relaxed kami kasi pareho kaming journalist din. And my daughter is also parang as friends na super duper independent-minded sila, no? So you'd have to respect yung space na yon. When she was young, or when she was a baby pa, syempre aral-aral ka ng gusto how to be a good parent, mga ganon, di ba? So I'm sure ikaw din, yung mga, you go to yung Piaget school, sabi nila na parang tipong dapat nurturing, di ba? You go to SPOC material, literature, sabi nila, pag umiyak, pabayaan mo lang, titigil din yan. Di ba? Ganun. Or you look at Gardner, yung theory niya ng multiple intelligences, ang mga bata natin. So, aral-aral ka doon para lang tipong guided baga. And then, of course, nung lumaki siya, parang independent-minded na siya, there would be yung mga nanay-nanay sa community namin. Merong stricture na ang babae ay dapat ganito lang. And my daughter loves to play with Lego, to play basketball. She was an MVP player nung high school siya sa Milo.
Wow!
So parang, sabi ko lang daw yung mga babae, sabi ko hindi ho. So yung kailangan mo ring i-challenge ba na ang sabi nila, the best minds are androgynous minds. May male, may female. So ang problema sa lipunan minsan is masyadong mapaghusga. Ito lang ang teritoryo ng babae, ito lang ang teritoryo ng lalaki. And then nung nag-college siya sa UP Manila, ganun din yung mga teacher niya, di ba? So I guess we were always there. Siguro mas yung excess lang namin is providing so well for her. Meaning, hindi yung providing yung, mas yung mga yung pagkain, yung mga ganon. The things that she would need, parang may grocery sa bahay.
Yung anak po ba ninyo may inkling or may hilig sa pagsusulat or sa pagre-report?
Actually, si Ria is a digital media manager.
Okay.
So she writes, she does online work. She actually also volunteers for a group called Luna's Collective. So parang they assist women, girls with problems sa gender-based violence. So survivors counseling sila. She writes very well, although hindi kami yung type ng parents na parang pukpukin baga. For a while, she helped out as a digital media producer sa online, sa GMA, but I think she had to migrate to other work eventually.
Okay. So at least, di ba, parang the passion for writing, parang it goes down the line. Naipasa sa sumunod na henerasyon.
Ay, oo naman. Pero I guess parang everybody has some form of inclination to write. If you ask journalism students, and I guess yung, di ba, may mga secondary press conferences sa high school, yung DepEd. So parang tipong, ang daming gustong magsulat. Ang problema lang siguro is yung, ano yung dahilan, bakit gustong maging writer or journalist? Many years ago, it was one of the things I would ask my students, parang 10 years from now, how do you see yourself? What is the thing that you'd like to be most known about? So a good number of them, actually majority, gusto maging broadcast journalist. Yung parang on TV, on cam. And some of them sa print or sa radio or sa advertising. And then sa secondary press conference, ganun din, yung passion, yung degree of interest sa pag-on-cam talent. Ay, hindi ko nga alam kung tamang ini-encourage ng mga guro. Kasi parang the form goes ahead of the content. Yung parang gusto nilang mag-on-cam talent kasi it's cool to be on TV, to be seen on TV, to speak on TV. Ang difficulty ko lang doon, parang tipong nawawala yung parang ano yung paghahanda, anong storya ang ikikwento on TV. So, pagka tinanong may mga estudyante, why do you want to be a writer or a journalist? A good number of them, I guess up to now, karamihan would say to be famous. Parang ganon. Or yung iba naman sabihin is siguro to serve the people or to write for the community, for the audience. Yung iba naman to make a living, to earn a lot of money. It doesn't. Only to parang blessed few. And then, yung iba, parang because I am good at writing. Parang gano'n, because it's something that I can do well. Pag nagsisimula yung klase, you would see that a lot of students would be parang really competitive. Lalo na yung mga magaling yung lengguwahe. Mga talagang lipad-diwa yung pagsusulat. But I caution them na sometimes good language or mastery of language or even good writing will not guarantee you good grades. Kasi what is key is actually to put discipline on top of talent. Yung mahalaga naman sa journalism, parang not everybody will be a good journalist through and through, but some people could be famous. Parang ganon. And we always say sa PCIJ, yung nga yung difficulty na credibility and ethics. Parang it doesn't pay to be credible but not ethical and to do ethics. But sometimes malungkot naman, hindi ganon ka-credible. Parang ganon. Or people say, credibility is what people say you are. So parang tanyag, magaling, gano'n. But ethics is what kind of people you are. And I think GMA under Miss Marisa Flores had still that in us quite well, ano, na parang doing ethics is the good thing even when no one is looking. Yun yung hirap na parang, kasi I think the audience will appreciate you, will know, without you telling them that I'm good. Parang gano'n. Merong ganong pagsilip, very discerning ang audience. So wag dapat tawaran yung talim ng isip at sa pantahan nila kung sino yung masipag, maayos, at saka talagang mapagkakatiwalaan na journalist. But then again, of course, you do make a mistake and that goes away quite fast, that trust.
It's important, I think, also for journalists to have journalists like you that we look up to. And, you know, who set the bar really high para syempre, di ba? Parang yun yung goal, yun yung, parang in today's parlance, yan ang peg. So,
mahirap yung Pia kasi you'd feel like you're so ancient.
Not ancient, just very highly respected.
I'm kidding. I think yung kami nila, Jessica, would always share some points of view na medyo tugma, ano? Call it parang old-fashioned ba? Or parang we stay with what's important and what's necessary. For example, yung sense namin na parang tipong, sinabi ko sa kanya yun, na journalism is not a solo job. Hindi ka mag-isa. That's why when investigative documentaries or even our programs get an award, I always have to acknowledge and really out of my own conviction na parang trabaho namin yun ng team. Hindi ako lang. It just so happens na siguro I do a little work for them on cam. I work with them on script. I assist them sa research. But that's par for the course, the team's work. And then also yung parang tipong difficulty na yung pagtawid ba, Pia, yung activism, advocacy, and political partisanship. Sa tingin ko, wala naman pwedeng dapat pagkutya o pag-deny sa mga journalists na may pinaniniwalaan tayo o meron tayong mga values na pinanghahawakan, pero yung political partisanship, parang that's crossing the line. Medyo hindi pwede kasi dahil we will be meeting all these people in politics, in business, possibly sa susunod na storya natin. And it would be important to give them fair shake all the time and to tell them that, you know, you're listening. Not with rose-colored lenses, but with parang tipong the eye of the innocent.
So, Ms. Malu, pag kwento mo yung trabaho na ginagawa ng isang malumang ahas, parang napakaseryoso, di ba? Parang very, very difficult, ganyan, talagang very straightforward and serious. I'm sure yung mga nakikinig sa atin, tinatanong nila, ano pa bang ibang ginagawa ni Ms. Malu kapag hindi siya nagtatrabaho? Kanina nabanggit niyo, you used to like sewing, you used to enjoy cooking. So these days, when you're not working, what keeps you busy? What keeps you entertained?
I read books every now and then. Of course, I scan and lurk sa mga news websites at saka ibang FB pages just to be well-informed. Actually, I have to confess that, di ba, meron tayong parang trolls of all sides, di ba? Sabi nila. But I listen to all sides and monitor. Kasi tingin ko, hindi patas, parang sabihin na troll yan dahil not everybody is a paid troll by any of the partisans. I think a good number of our citizens are just there to express themselves. Di ba? Parang may opinion sila, meron silang gustong paniwalaan or pinupush nila or nire-retweet nila yung mga nabasa nila. But if you look at parang the discourse right now, yung parang ang problema natin is may pagbansag agad ng mga paid trolls, yung mga taong bayan. I guess the problem is yung the toxicity has divided us into camps and the big gray middle. Yung mga taong bayan natin na gusto lang makipagkwentuhan muna at aralin yung mga issue, parang yun yung kailangan nating tingnan. Mm-hmm. I also watch a lot of TV, online drama, K-drama, or yung mga music na. But of course, paiba-iba lang yung genre na gusto mong aralin. Sa ngayon, yung may mga balita tulad sa Ukraine, yung Israel-Hamas war, I'd like to keep in touch with yung mga news media na yun ang tinututukan. Whether that's online or on television, kasi mahalagang mga bagay yon. we do work also with our CSOs and do training programs for them. So, hindi naman siya super busy na buhay. I guess ang mahalaga is yung merong pauses, merong time for yourself, merong time for family. And all the time, I think parang yung pressure na wag naman load it up on yourself all at once. Siguro, one step at a time, but do your level best.
Teka, Miss Malu, yung bedtime reading ninyo, baka naman the history of conflict in the Middle East ang bedtime reading ninyo.
Hindi. Actually, all sorts of things eh. Minsan yung babasahin mo, di ba, yung mga health websites, gano'n. O minsan yung mga DIY websites. Parang, ganun pala pwede.
Okay.
So, I guess, and then of course, you'd want to go through shopping online. Parang,
na-preempt nyo yung question ko. Tatanungin ko, sana wala ba kayong guilty pleasures like online shopping?
Of course. I think lahat tayo merong ganung parang gusto natin na. Kasi nga, when COVID happened, we were in our little corners of the world and can't do anything, di ba? We used to enjoy a movie sa theater or see a play sa theater, pero hindi pwede yun nung panahon ng COVID. So, and then came the shopping websites na, why not? Kesa pumunta sa mall o diba? So, ganon. And you could buy a lot of things. We used to have a dog na si Chase, kaya lang namatay siya at age 14 years. Ang dami naming nabili online, whether mga damit niya, sapatos niya, pagkain niya, etc.
Oh, hindi naman kayo nabudol? Hindi kayo na scam online?
I think ako personally tingin ko dapat ang gawin natin cash on delivery if we could have cash. Kasi mahirap din eh. Dahil of course we do e-wallet but for certain things like paying bills. Pero yung sa mga online shopping, lalo na't malaking halaga, mahirap kasi pagka hindi mo nakita ba na dumating yung produkto.
Oo nga, mahirap na, no? Okay. Actually, alam mo, ang ini-imagine ko, Miss Malu, kasi diba sometimes when you see somebody so highly respected, so credible on television, or you read their work, or you see them online, ang iniisip ko, paano ba, para how to humanize such a respected figure. And one of the things for me, I think that will humanize a person is kung ano yung ginagawa nila sa bahay. Like if they do household chores. Para, kayo ba, Miss Malu, do you do your own chores? Or do you do your fair share of the chores? Meron ka ba yung mga ayaw mong ginagawa talaga? Or gustong-gustong ginagawa?
Wala na kaming ate sa bahay for the longest time. Since Rio was, I think, 10 years old, we returned from Harvard. Nagliman kasi ko sa Harvard. Tapos, pagbalik namin, wala na kaming ate. Kami na lang, 3 piraso lang naman kami. So, even when we were young, yung nanay ko at yung papa ko taught us to do everything. Mga tawag nila ngayon dyan, life skills, sa eskwela. So, I can cook, I can wash, I can do laundry, I can wash dishes, I can iron clothes. So, I think critical din yun eh. So, I guess yun yung sana lang mag-catch up lahat ng ating mga kabataan kasi when you're on your own, those are very useful skills and things to do. But every now and then, of course, parang mas mayroong task sharing ba sa bahay. So, I do the grocery, I cook, pero once or twice a week lang kasi pwede naman magpa-deliver. 3 piraso nga lang kami. And then, yung cleaning, merong once a week na dumadaan sa amin na ate, mas yung general cleaning twice a week effectively, parang ganon. Yun, that's laundry na lang.
Laundry na lang. Pero yung, what's the one chore na pinaka gusto mong pinapasa sa iba kasi ayaw mong gawin on your own?
Ang palagay ko yung pinakamahirap yung pagplancha, pag-iron.
Ay, oo nga.
Although, possibly it is because if I do it, you'd have to be so meticulous about it kasi my father taught me na kailangan walang gusot sa collar. Kailangan isa lang ang piston ng pantalon. It becomes so difficult to do it kasi parang you're hard on yourself, di ba? Kailangan mahusay.
Miss Malu, may i-share ako sa yung sekreto na nahanap ko sa online shopping. Yung steamer, akala ko kasi dati hindi siya gumagana, pero gumagana pala talaga ang steamer. It's my new best friend.
Sa mga malls, di ba, yung ginagamit?
Yes. Baka naunahan niyo pa ako.
I guess yun yung pag-explore baga, ng mga, ano yung pwedeng a little light thing that you can do despite yung mga problema ng bayan. And of course, syempre, it is important also to constantly study and even worry. Kasi hindi naman lahat ng bagay okay, sa bayan natin.
Oo nga. That's true. Miss Malu, nako, thank you for being so game to answer all our questions. Some of them completely random. At dahil game na game kayo, our team prepared a special game also for you. So, let's check out the surprise game that they have prepared. Basahin ko lang po. Nako, kayo pa ba, Miss Malu? I'm sure you'll pass with flying colors.
Sa mga IT test sa amin, yung tech namin, palagi kami bagsak.
Di ko ma-imagine.
Ang pumapasa masyado sa amin. Anyway, pag IT test, okay, go.
Simple lang to. Let's check, Miss Malu. It's a simple Q&A game. Ang question natin is, kung bibigyan kayo ng pagkakataon na pumili ng isang guest na ma-interview, sino or bakit? So, I'll give you 4 sets of 2. Tapos, between the 2, pipili po kayo ng isa.
Okay.
Sasabihin nyo kung bakit. Okay, so let's see. Ang first set natin, between President Bongbong Marcos Jr. or Senator Amy Marcos, sino ang gusto nyong ma-interview?
Si Senator Amy.
Bakit si Senator Amy pinili nyo?
Kasi mas kumpleto yung pagkaalam niya, I think sa kasaysayan ng pamilya, mas medyo may edad na siya nung time na nangyari yung EDSA, di ba? Nasa law school pa siya noon. And I think mas mayroong intricate awareness siya kung paano ipapaliwanag yung mga issue. Sa kabilang banda, si President BBM naman palagi nasa TV Si Senator Amy mailap Parang tipong, meron siya minsan biglang, ba't kakaiba yung opinion niya?
How about between former President Rodrigo Duterte or Vice President Sara Duterte?
I think si Vice President Sara. Kasi si President Duterte, I think he has a mind of his own. He's in a world of his own. Na kahit ano tanong mo, iikot-ikot malamang, ang ina-anticipate ko lang. Kumbaga parang, ang key sa pag-interview is sana merong dagdag value sa kaalaman kang maibibigay sa taong bayan. Si Vice President Sara, medyo measured yung mga pahayag niya. But I think because she is there and will likely, possibly, run in 2028, mas mahalagang taong ma-interview si Vice President Sara.
Okay. And our last set, last pair. Boy Abunda or Jessica Soho?
Palagi ko si Jessica pa rin. Kasi si Boy Abunda is a good interviewer, but also sometimes siguro parang there's fanfare, there's sass to it. Si Jessica, mas pwedeng ikwento siguro yung buhay niya na sa likod ng TV. I'm sure not many people have some idea na she takes care of her father so well sa La Union. She cooks very well. In fact, parang todo-todo yung ingredients. I think meron siyang mga siguro memories na mga parang unforgettable. Hindi lang incidents, but persons she's met along the way. Not necessarily the big guns of the armed forces or the cabinet, but I guess we all have our little unforgettable community of interviewees, na taong bayan. I guess yun yung mga mas magandang ipakwento kay Jessica.
Have you ever interviewed Ma'am Jess for a show?
The chika-chika.
Chika-chika lang talaga.
Kasi we work together, di ba? Parang sa Lucid Public Affairs kami pareho. So, mas ganon. Or hindi talaga yung interview. But siguro mahirap din siyang ma-interview kasi parang tipong pareho kayo na mag-anticipate, Parang ikaw, pagka-interview ka.
Ina-anticipate yung question.
Anyway, so yun.
So pwede na rin nating i-line up si Ma'am Jess sa Malumangahas interviews. Ginawa na namin kayo Mamalu ng isang line-up.
Okay, sige. Yes, kami din, maghahabol pa kami ng iba pang ma-interview.
Yes. I guess my last question, Miss Malu, for you would be, what do you think is the most important value any journalist should have from start to finish when they decide to pursue a career in this field?
I think it would be humility. Na parang tipong we're never ever good enough for the stories that we do. And I think it's important to say that parang we've not known everything already. We must continue studying and learning. Humility also has to do with parang according our peers and colleagues respect. that it's never about us alone. Parang hindi yung single journalist ang nakapagpunyagi kung ano man yung na-achieve, but it's really teamwork that's so important.
Thank you so much, Miss Malu, for sharing this with us. Pakiramdam ko, Miss Malu, nag-attend ako ng isang seminar or kaya nag-sit-in sa klase. Ang dami kong natutunan today. And I love your stories about, the early years and all. Parang nakakatuwa. Thank you for sharing all this with us today.
Thank you, Pia, and good luck and congrats sa program mo.
Thanks, Miss Malu. Miss Malu, last na, baka you'd like to invite them to catch the Malu Manghas interviews po.
Kami po ay mayroong weekly program, ang tawag ho The Manghas Interviews, TMI. Ito po'y umiere Webes at or Biyernes every week. At meron din pong mga news reports na inilalabas sa State of the Nation, sa SONA, sa GTV. Marami pong mga tinututukan kami, pero magtatatlong taong anibersaryo na po kami this December, and we hope to continue asking the right and most important questions ng magalang pero matalim na paraan. Magandang araw po sa inyong lahat. Sana manood po kayo.
Thanks, Miss Malu.
Thank you.
This surprise was planned by the team of Ronald Ramido and Aubrey De Los Reyes, edited by Shirley Paghiligan with the amazing people of GMA Integrated News. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Till the next surprise!